What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you a video on Classified France 44, a turn-based tactical espionage game set in the run-up to D-Day. Now, before we dive into this fully, though, I do need to inform you that this video is in fact sponsored by the game's publisher, Team 17, and with that in mind, this game happens to be out now on March 5th on Steam, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S. With that out of the way, however, let's dive into this and talk about what you can expect from this title. Now, as I've already mentioned, it is a tactical espionage game about the run-up to D-Day. Specifically, we're going to be playing as both elite soldiers and resistance fighters organizing partisan efforts against the German occupation forces present in France. And throughout the game's campaign, our success or failures will lead to one of potentially 15 different endings. So let's talk a little bit about how you're going to be approaching all of that, individual missions, recruitment, managing your roster, etc. Now, one of the first big things to know is about mission type. Each mission comes in 3 different types, though the actual objectives will vary. The types, however, are stealth, ambush, and assault. These determine the exact approach you're going to take, with assault starting you in combat right away. Ambush starting you off in stealth, where you'll have the opportunity to take characters down silently, which fills up a meter before turning into a larger firefight. And then some missions are purely stealth, where the purpose is to start in stealth and finish the mission in stealth, though obviously that has the chance to not work out. It is important to know that those are the broader guidelines for the mission. The exact objectives and what you need to do can change. For instance, sometimes you might be trying to steal documents or information, other times you might be trying to sabotage something with explosives, recruit a party member, etc. So there is a fair bit of variation there, and those are the general activities that you'll be getting up to. Another big aspect of missions, though, is of course who to send on said mission, which involves the management side of the game. We'll be managing our roster of soldiers and resistance fighters, which includes things like their equipment, their general well-being such as injuries, and of course supply levels, all of which can be done from the map menu outside of missions. This is where we're going to pick and choose what we do, which includes managing our forces, deciding on which missions to take, and completing tasks. Tasks are non-combat objectives you can assign people to, typically whoever's not going to be on a mission, of course, which can include things like curing their wounds, aiding 3 of the factions, which we'll talk about, or simply training them so they gain experience even when they're not participating in missions directly. As you start taking on missions and establishing resistance networks in certain areas, you will earn reputation with 3 different factions: the Radicals, Gaullists, and Criminals. Increasing your relationship with any one of these gives you access to supplies and benefits. Specifically, you can spend your resource supplies on new equipment such as weapons and gear to outfit your roster with the selection for each faction, of course, varying. Now, one of the tasks you can get up to is increasing your reputation with these factions in addition to what you're earning on your missions. And then, after each successful mission, you can increase your region strength, which is to say how established your resistance network is there. And depending on which region you're strengthening, this will provide different effects and benefits. Some key regions offer double the overall strength for your actual resistance, and then after doing this 3 times for a given area, you'll receive an ability based on which region it is. For instance, this region here will cut the time for the cure injury task down to 2 days. But from there, let's talk about our actual roster, our soldiers and resistance fighters, which we can check out in the base camp menu. This is where we'll see everyone on our team, and we can potentially listen to conversations they'll have, which can help out with morale and heal fatigue from previous missions. And it's also where you'll go to customize their equipment, which comes down to things like their weapons, of course, but also their gear, that is to say their clothing, helmets, etc., which will all have very real tangible effects on their combat effectiveness via things like extra action points or morale, which we'll discuss shortly. Another big aspect of the characters, however, is that they will be leveling up and they each have a class associated with them, so as the game progresses, you'll be able to spend skill points they earn from leveling up to specialize their particular class into one of 4 variations. Or maybe a mix and match of several if you want, but this is what is going to increase things like their maximum morale, their overall efficiency, and give them extra abilities to use in combat. And while that's how the mechanical side of it works, it's also worth mentioning that obviously with this being a real-world event, they wanted the characters at play to feel authentic and showcase people who would have, of course, been in that situation, which is where both the missions and the conversations at base camp come into play to portray the harrowing historical event for what it was. And that's before we even start talking about the combat system. Now, this will feel familiar to you if you are familiar with the genre itself, but it does have a few things that I think are worth talking about that make this game stand out. For starters, combat uses an action point system that dictates both your movement, what you can do on the battlefield, such as cutting through fences, engaging with obstacles, opening doors, breaking windows, that kind of thing, and also your ability to take actions, which is based on your character and gear, of course, but things such as throwing grenades, shooting whatever weapon you have equipped, going into Overwatch, the usual things. But one of the most important systems to be aware of is morale. Each character has a morale meter, both you and the enemies. Yours is going to be dictated by your learned skills and gear, but it plays the most important role in combat itself, because every shot taken or action taken by the enemy that is used against your characters is going to affect your morale. And the important thing there is that happens even if it misses. So, as you and the enemies take shots and things at each other, morale will decrease, though it will increase on your turn, but the reduction of morale is what leads to the suppressed and broken status effects. Now, suppressed does things like half your action points and restrict your movement and what you're able to do as a result. Broken, on the other hand, is where you've completely reduced someone's morale meter, and this results in the loss of their next turn. But what makes this interesting is that this happens even if they're not actually hit by the attack. So for instance, if you take a shot at a soldier and miss, they still take the hit to their morale, which means all is not lost. And you can use this to strategically take turns from the enemy, which limits their effectiveness, which adds a great deal to the tactical gameplay. The catch, however, is of course that they can do this to you as well, and if you're outnumbered and in a bad situation, your effectiveness can quickly be reduced as a result, which is why making good use of cover and general tactics is going to make or break most missions for people. And this is where things like the ambush mechanic, which involves strategically taking out enemies before things devolve into a proper firefight, is so important, so you can structure the battlefield on your own terms, which I think goes a long way for making it feel like the resistance fight that it is. So in addition to normal tactical elements, we also have to manage morale, the noise we're making on stealth and ambush missions, all while trying to, of course, deal with our individual objectives to further the resistance strength to give the allies every advantage we can in the lead up to D-Day. Though, what's more, if you don't find the campaign or missions available there to offer quite enough for you, you will have access to in-game tools that will allow you to create your own missions or play missions made by other players as well. So, if you're looking for something beyond the campaign, there are going to be those available at the same time, which of course gives the community the opportunity to create something of their own. Now that, I think, just about covers most everything you need to know about Classified France 44, and as a reminder, there is a link below that's going to offer you more information so you can learn more about the game, which is, as I said at the beginning, out now on March 5th, available on Steam, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S. But that is pretty much going to do it for this video, so I certainly hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about the title down in the comment section below, which of course means to like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube jazz. But regardless of any of that, truly, just thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. May you wander in wisdom and have an amazing day.